I sat at my kitchen table on a Tuesday morning and understood that no one in the world was thinking about me. Not in a sad way, not at first. It just arrived, like noticing the clock had stopped and not knowing how long ago. I was 86. I had toast in front of me, half a cup of coffee that had gone cool, and this feeling that came in so quiet I almost missed it, that I had been waiting for something for a very long time, and it was not coming. I need to go back. When I was young, I was not the kind of woman people worried about. I was capable. That was the word everyone used. My mother said it. My teachers said it. Later, my husband said it, usually when he was handing me something he did not want to deal with. She's capable. She'll handle it. And I did. I handled everything. I handled the bills, the children's doctors, the school registrations, the grocery lists, the holiday planning, the phone calls to his mother who never liked me, the leaking roof, the arguments that I swallowed instead of started. I handled all of it, and I did it well, and I never once asked whether handling everything meant no one ever had to show up for me. I thought that was love, being the one who keeps it all running. I thought if I did enough, if I made the house warm enough, and the dinners good enough, and the mornings calm enough, that someone would eventually turn to me and say, "What do you need? What are you carrying? Let me take something from you." I waited for that. I waited a long time. My husband, Gerald, was not a cruel man. I want to be clear about that. He never raised his hand. He never yelled. He came home every night. He sat in his chair and read the paper and later watched the news. And he was there, physically, always there. But he never once asked me how I was, in a way that wanted a real answer. And I never blamed him, because I never told him I needed him too. I thought it was obvious. I thought the asking would come naturally if you loved someone long enough. It did not. The children were the same, in a different way. I raised 3, 2 boys and a girl. I was there for every fever, every science fair, every broken heart in high school. I drove them places. I stayed up with them. I made their favorites when they were sad, and I loved doing it. I am not saying I didn't, but somewhere in all of that, they learned something I didn't mean to teach them. They learned that I was fine, that I was always fine, that I did not need anything from anyone, because I never said I did. Children believe what you show them. I showed them a woman who never broke, so they stopped checking. Years go by in a strange way when you are busy. You do not notice them leaving. You notice the seasons because of what needs doing. You notice the holidays because of the cooking. You notice the birthdays because you are the one who remembers them. But you do not sit down and think about whether your life is what you wanted, because there is always something next. There is always a load of laundry. There is always someone who needs a ride. I think that is how most women I knew live. We were moving too fast to feel anything for too long. And the feeling that something was missing, it would come sometimes, late at night or early in the morning before the house woke up. But it did not have a name, and things without names are easy to ignore. Gerald retired in 1992. I thought that would change things. I thought with time, with all this time now, he would look at me, really look. We would travel, maybe, sit on the porch and talk the way I imagined old couples talked. I had this picture in my head of us growing into something softer, something closer. What happened was he watched more television. and I kept cooking. I did not fight about it. I did not bring it up. I told myself that this was just how men were, that he loved me in his way, that expecting more was being ungrateful. My mother had said something like that once. You have a good man and a roof over your head. Don't go looking for trouble. So I didn't. The kids moved away one by one. Normal things. College, jobs, marriages. They called on Sundays for a while, then every other Sunday. Then when they remembered, I did not hold it against them. They were building lives. I had built mine around them, and that was my choice. But nobody tells you what happens when the thing you built your whole life around gets up and walks out the door and doesn't look back. Not out of cruelty, just out of living. Gerald died in 2014. Heart attack in the driveway. He was getting the mail. I heard something fall, and by the time I got to the front door, he was on the ground, and the letters were scattered around him like leaves. After the funeral, the kids stayed a few days. They cleaned out some of his things. They asked me if I needed anything, and I said no, because that is what I always said. And then they left, and the house went quiet in a way it had never been quiet before. That was when the waiting started. Or maybe that was when I finally noticed I had always been waiting. I waited for the phone to ring. I waited for someone to come by. I waited for a letter, a visit, an invitation. I waited for one of my children to say, "Come live near us." I waited for a neighbor to knock on the door. I waited for the world to remember I was here, and the world did not. Days passed that were all the same. I woke up, I made coffee. I sat in the kitchen. I watched the light move across the floor. I watered the plants because they were the only things that still needed me. I turned the television on for the sound of voices, not because I cared what was on. I started talking to Gerald, not in a spiritual way. I did not believe he could hear me. I just needed someone to talk to, and he was the only one whose silence I was used to. Then came that Tuesday. I was 86 and I was sitting there with my cold coffee and my toast that I had taken 2 bites of, and I looked at the phone on the wall and I understood something so clearly it almost didn't hurt. No one was coming. Not today, not tomorrow, not in some future I kept imagining, where things got warmer and people came back and someone finally saw me. No one was going to rescue me from this quiet. No one was going to arrive at the door with flowers and guilt and say, "I'm sorry we forgot about you." The world had not forgotten me. It had just never been paying the kind of attention I thought it was. I had spent my whole life earning something that was never for sale. I sat there a long time. The coffee went cold all the way. The toast dried out. I didn't cry. I think I was past crying by then. I just sat with it, the way you sit with a diagnosis. You don't argue with it. You just let it be true. What I felt most was not anger. It was embarrassment. Like I had been standing at a bus stop for 60 years, and someone finally told me the route had been canceled a long time ago, and everyone else had found another way home. I do not want pity. That is not why I am saying this. Pity would be the worst thing. Pity is what people give when they do not want to look too closely at something, because they are afraid they will see themselves in it. I am 88 now. 2 years since that Tuesday. I still live in the same house. My daughter calls once a month. One of my sons sends a card at Christmas. The other one I have not heard from in over a year. I think he is busy. I think they are all busy. I have a routine. I wake up, I water the plants. I sit on the porch if it is warm. I go to bed early because there is no reason to stay up. It is a small life. It fits in a very small box. And the thing I keep thinking about is not what I lost. It is how long I sat there, waiting and how certain I was that the waiting would end. How I confused patience with hope. How I thought being good and being quiet and being useful meant that someone eventually would come. I think there are people right now sitting in their houses, in their marriages, in their jobs, at their kitchen tables, waiting, believing it will come. The recognition, the closeness, the moment someone turns to them and says, I see you. I know what you have been carrying. I was one of those people. I don't know what I would have done differently. Maybe that's the worst part. I'm not sure I knew how to ask. I'm not sure I knew the words. I was raised to be capable and quiet and grateful, and I was all three, and it cost me everything soft in my life. The house is very still now. I can hear the clock from any room. Some nights I think the loneliest thing in the world is not being alone. It is finding out that you were alone the whole time and just didn't know it.